3 damage. Reeling. Hurt. Afraid. Injured. Ugh. All right. His buddy is... well, now that Harmon has joined the fight, he will take a swing at Harmon. And this one is going to be aimed.
I guess that's my anti-argument, that they're the anti-noble sentiment. I think if they were the anti-noble sentiment, they would go directly for counter every time. I will counter.
Okay. 10 high. Yeah.
Yep, so it's what? 1, 2, 3, 4 damage?
4 damage, yep.
So I'm just reeling.
Just reeling. Okay. And the guy to the south here is going to swing at you now that you're reeling.
I will counter again.
He's no longer guarding. He's going to aim in.
Remember, you have a bonus D8.
Right. So 48 and a D12. And you're countering because blind sight, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Blind fight.
That is another 4-point hit.
That is true. The one goes through. 2 of it, so 2 points. So afraid?
Yep.
Hurt and afraid. Okay. I think that was my last action.
All right. Well,
yeah. I should probably just go ahead and rally first. I'm going to go ahead and refresh my magic and then rally Harmon. It's more like you have them surrounded with skill.
Yeah,
and I'm going to go ahead and choose leadership rallying. 2, congratulations. You are no longer afraid. You are no longer reeling.
Okay, quick question. So the guy who beats me, did he reload and attack me?
No, the guy who he attacked you and then... Oh, I guess, did he have another move? I don't remember what exactly happened, but I think he attacked you, missed, and drifted north.
Oh, I thought he reloaded and attacked you with natural.
Yeah, because when you're flying, you drift for free.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, then I guess he reloaded? Yeah. I mean, that would have made sense, right?
I can make this real quick. I'm going to draw my rapier and guard.
Okay.
Whoosh.
all right. I guess I'll take one. Harmon can take someone else. I'll go for number 3. And this is going to be another guard and attack.
Okay. He will try to counter for 2d8. It doesn't even come close. All right. So the 8 and the 10 goes through.
So that's 4 damage with the successes and critical.
Nice.
Plus 2, right?
So 6 total?
Well, no, it's 3 damage with the successes and critical because he got a 5, and my 8 and 10 beat set, so that's 3 damage. Plus 2 is 5.
5.
Yes.
That sounds good. Okay, 5. Soaking. Soaks 3 of it, so 2 goes through. Reeling, hurt, afraid. All right, Connor lands a nice blow.
Oh, right. I guess I'm the last one. I don't know who I was waiting for there. Potter, who's done nothing.
Potter has done nothing the whole fight.
Natively hiding.
Yeah, I guess I'll aim at the guy above me.
The bird.
No, the guy above me.
Oh, this guy.
Map-wise, yeah.
Map-wise, gotcha.
We'll sleep to the bird next.
Ah, damn.
All right,
I'll
sorry.
roll that 1 from aim.
He's going to counter. These guys have been countering 2d8.
That layer sweep close. Can you skip a space and still sweep to, say in one of these situations where he's surrounded but not
I
when we
assumed
get
that the
apart.
sweep close centered from me.
I would feel a little weird if it was sweeping and you're between the two of them, right? Like if it was
That was
just
a weird
enemy.
question. What do you
Sorry?
mean? You sweep it close. You hit people at close.
Okay, so they don't have to be next to one another.
I thought, like with sweeping rules in Myriad Song, if you have a sweep short weapon, but your weapon shoots at long range, you can't shoot one
No,
person.
he attacks people that are close to him.
Right, like I said,
Okay.
I thought it was centered on me.
Mhm.
It's centered on you.
But anyway, it
I thought they had to
doesn't
be-
even
It's
matter though, because
different.
this is a simultaneous hit. You said he
Yeah,
was countering.
Myriad Song's different as a shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've just hit this guy and he's hit me. So I deal you 3 damage, you deal me 4 damage.
Right.
So you go ahead and soak first. I'm just having a bad day
Okay.
on these rolls. Lots of dice, not a lot of good rolls.
Yeah. It's good that I'm here to help.
Well, I mean, because I can still
Mitigate
I
some of the
can,
misfortune.
well, I mean, I can counterattack till the cows come home. So
Right, but you could also die.
that's not going to happen.
We'll see. At least everyone's reeling now.
Yeah.
So I soak 2. So just afraid again. Afraid and reeling.
Okay.
See, if I was playing this really strategically, I would just be guarding every turn instead of aiming, because I get
Mhm.
more attacks on me in their round than I do my own attacks. Guarding is always better than aiming, but for some reason I feel like this is a real aiming day.
Mhm.
So guarding is better than aiming because when you're attacked, you can use your guard as part of your counterattack. Is that
In my
why?
argument, it's action economy. They're going to
Yes.
attack me more times than I can attack them with aiming.
Right,
I
and
only
he has
get
the build that specifically lets him.
well, I only get the
Hmm.
one aim hit, whereas they
Yep.
attack me back, and if I'm guarding, I get guarding every time I counter against them. So
Yes,
Right.
Now here's the trick. All they have to do is not attack him, and he won't get that bonus.
Exactly.
right, but then I still exist as a impediment to the battle. They can
I
always be
know.
rallied.
Or they could throw a rock at him.
It's the question of whether you want to die or not, or you could shoot him at range. Did you not bring archers? Are they not? And are your archers not being murdered by a flying bat?
I mean, that's the question,
Yeah,
right?
there's a little trouble.
I mean, I do have a staff sling on my back. I'm good for it.
You're ready. Okay. And because you have this blind sight, blind fight, whatever, you can counter if someone attacks you while you're reeling.
Right.
Right.
They still
That's
get the D8
pretty good.
bonus, but I can still counter them. I can attack from concealment while concealed, or, you confuse me, I'll attack you back. You make it pitch black, I'll attack you back. You make me reeling, I'll attack you back.
Cool. It's a powerful build. Okay. All right. So, this combat wasn't going the way that they had hoped it would go. The number one over here is currently bleeding. He's got his shield up, but you can tell that he's like favoring a side, and there's blood pooling on the ground around him. And he says, "Damn it! We didn't realize he wasn't supposed to be this heavily defended. Fall back!" The others look at him, but he says, "Fall back, I say!" And they're going to turn tail, and with incredible speed, they're going to disappear into the woods. I think every one of them has enough that they can beat a hasty retreat here.
Birds can get away free, and these guys were already described as horses with D10 speed, so they're out of there.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can only run away from Harmon when he decides he lets you. I got a run speed of 30. I don't know what you're packing.
I mean, what's your goal? Are you guys bandits or are you guys defenders of this territory?
Oh, they're here with a very specific mission, which they were not able to carry out, and they're not about to die for it. And Harmon, their run speed is 31.
Oh, okay. So that means that I pull out the staff sling and start
There you go.
Harmon
firing on
can
them
and will hunt them down.
for 15 turns. Shoot them. No, I don't really give a shit.
Okay.
If they've
cool.
decided to retreat, then I honor the retreat.
All right. So yeah, these guys are going to decide to retreat. I'm gonna do some I'm just actually going to move them up here for now. I haven't been rolling death saves for the guys down here. Someone refresh my memory, though.
It's only been like
roll
3
your
rounds,
body
right?
die
So just
3
roll.
times.
Yeah, just roll the body die like 3 times.
Okay. These guys have a body. Yeah, these guys are nice. Okay,
And don't roll a 1.
We were kind of vague about it in the rules because I've met people who get extremely angry if characters don't die.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Who's angry characters aren't dead? Cat.
I like keeping them alive myself.
Well,
I mean,
weird.
Yeah.
I like seeing them die.
This is a situation where there's potentially information that you could get from these guys if
Roll
you
your
were
body
so.
die 3 times.
I like seeing
Also,
them die, but I'm also a big fan of the random roll.
Okay,
That guy's
there's
dead.
a 1, you died.
This guy dead. And this guy. Ooh, this guy might still be alive.
You're alive. You get to roll your body species and body speed and species.
Ooh, okay. I believe that's 2d8 and a d10.
What are you, dude? Playing a game.
Okay, I got a 3-3 and an 8.
Yeah, he's
Wow,
fine.
with an 8, you'll actually recover with only fatigue.
Oh, cool. All right. So this guy
So
is.
we actually have somebody, but that takes about a few minutes, during which I think we apprehend you.
Yeah.
By the way, I let the bird guy go if he doesn't shoot at me.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, no, once the horses retreat, the birds basically just spiral off into the sky, take off.
All right.
Hey, it's a fighter. I didn't get injured.
Yeah, look at you.
Connor carries
me.
rope. He's going to tie this dude up. Once we know he's not going to die from it.
Well, who is this guy who is still breathing? Are they flying any colors, or are they just some weirdos?
Currently looks like just some weirdos. No colors, conspicuously
Heavily
black.
armored and financed weirdos.
Well, they're highly skilled because they were veterans and skilled. Let's turn out their pockets and see what we can find before he rouses.
All
Of course,
right.
everyone join me in prayer and recover hurt.
No, I'm too busy turning out his pockets. I wasn't actually hurt.
Oh yeah, you're fine.
You're
Don't
actually
worry.
hurt.
Everyone else though.
Cool. So while they're doing that and recovering their hurt. Okay, so we're all back. You guys were in the process of searching your new captive. You came across a letter that Anushka couldn't read, but Connor could.
I'm someone who can.
Yep. So Connor, when you read the letter, it seems like a description of you. It mentions your house by name, and it describes you as a cocky knight errant. It describes I believe you said you had like reddish fur.
Yes.
And it describes the general make of the armor that you're wearing. Yeah.
Interesting. He'll have to keep that and show it to his father.
Is this a warrant for your capture or arrest?
Is there an official stamp on it?
There's no official seal on the letter. It's just a handwritten description of you.
This is more of a bounty. Griff, are you keeping track of the party fund?
No, I was just making it obvious. I was going to ask how we were going to split the gold.
That was Gaston's job.
Oh, if you give me a handout, I can do it.
Okay.
But let's continue the game. I just wanted to get that out of the way before I started writing stuff down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, does Connor's family have a history with the anti-nobility sect?
Maybe. I don't spend much time in court these days.
Because I can't remember.
Obvious.
I can't remember where they were from. I mean, they're in the Abattoir territory. They came from there. I can't remember where in the Abattoir territory the anti-nobility group is from.
I'll look it up. I don't remember the name though. I think it's would it be listed in the Abattoir section of the book?
Well, the problem being is that their territory used to be a noble's territory, which was, dissolved and broken up and given to other people, which means it probably doesn't exist map-wise anymore. Also,
Well, I
after
was
many
looking-
years. After many
I was
That was
years.
hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, so I said after many years, they're also just like an underground movement. Well, refresh my memory, Raph, since all I can remember is the anti-church movement. What's the name of the anti-nobility movement?
Oh, you mean the heliodromes?
No, that is specifically the worship of Anu thing.
You mean
I'm talking about the I want to keep saying Esclavare or something like that.
you mean the apostasy?
Nope, I'm still thinking that's a church thing. I'm talking about anti-nobility.
Oh, I'm trying to. I mean, there's lots of anti-nobility.
Well, I mean, like, you have the Intergeners, which are the anti-church group, and then you have the anti-nobility group, which I think is also an E name, but I can't just remember off the top of my head.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure who you're thinking. So that, I mean, there's the apostasy, which seeks to destroy the church. There's the heliodromes, which seek to undermine everyone. There's the necromancers, who are gods among themselves.
Well, the Intergeners are the anti-church movement, and
Yeah,
the
I'm
heliodromes
not
are
sure.
the fallbacks of, I can't remember, the Karnaks or something like that, which rose up to fight back the church when it first.
You mean the Etignors?
Etrigeners? That's how I've always said Etrigeners. That's probably who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, the Extinguishers.
Well, no, isn't that the isn't that the one I was just talking about a second ago?
I think the Extinguishers might be the anti-nobility movement.
I thought that those were the anti-church ones because they had the
Um,
extinguishers, which is the heliodrome type weapon.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. So I'm not sure what you're talking about. So you keep if there's a specific
I keep referring to it because
that's
it's how I remember them, and there are two
Okay.
different movements that are, one is anti-church and one is anti-nobility, and they both come up in the history of the Avoirdupois at different points in time.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, if
Oh.
there's a specific anti-nobility that only has anti-noble on their agenda but not anti-church, I'm not sure what organization you're referring to.
There was a noble house that had all their stuff taken away from them.
That's the Marteau.
Yeah, and they had all their stuff taken away from them, and then there was an organization founded by them, but all the disenfranchised nobles around them.
Yeah, that's the Extinguishers. That's the Etignors.
Okay, maybe the whole extinguisher weapon is what confusing thing to me.
The Marteau specifically had an agenda that was the church should not be allowed to own property because the church is a vague corporation. People should own property, not vague places like this. And they are a threat to the power of everyone everywhere. And the Marteau were eventually abolished in the Civil War.
Right.
Because the church, the Marteau were saying that also this church that comes from a foreign land will use their influence to destroy the power of nobility. And then the church of Salmer used their power and wealth to diminish the power of nobility. Because it's like, if you read the history, there's the conversion of the king to Salmer, and since then that's been the religion in Avoirdupois domain, and the church has a lot of authority over here, and some people aren't happy about that. Welcome to the wonderful gray tapestry that is Ironclaw.
It's also just the large number of E-named organizations that are throwing me off.
A lot of French.
So, yeah, I get the impression that Avoirdupois, French, Triskellion, the Rinaldi, kind of Italian. I guess Bisclavre, I always got kind of a Scottish thing vibe. Maybe that's just the kilt.
They are kind of Norman, which is they're French people in a British occupied area.
Huh. Okay. All right. It makes sense. The kind of the French pronunciation on
There's
that.
an inside joke that Bisclave is the name of a werewolf. In real life, the Bisclave is a werewolf novel. But it's about a French noble family called the Bisclave, and Bisclave is nonsense in French. It doesn't mean anything. It's a nonsense word.
Gotcha.
Someone came up with it. So that's why it's kind of a joke that the Bisclave. Because if you look in the history, the Avoirdupois are named after the contract they all signed after the Civil War. So they're actually all the houses united under the contract of Avoirdupois. And the Dolereaux are just called the Dolereaux because that's a vague word for the pagan religion they worship. They have their own big, long, complicated structure, but they're just Dolereaux. And then you're right about the Rinaldi and the Triskellion. All kinds of stuff. I could talk about Ironclaw for an hour.
It's cool. It's fun to get to deep dive on that a little bit. So thank you. All right. But yeah, so let's pick up where we left off. So you do have this guy semi-conscious and tied up. You do have a letter.
Yeah, he actually recovered pretty nicely. So he's only afraid and not terrified, which means he's a flight risk. So we're gonna have to ask Connor what we want to do with him. I mean, is the letter for Connor's, is this a lawful document that says Connor is supposed to be arrested? Or is it a note someone wrote that's a bounty?
It's a note, yeah.
So someone gave them a description of you and said that they wanted you. Does it say dead or alive?
It does not.
So what's the reward for bringing your head back?
It seems like it's just a physical description, and whatever else was said and not written down.
So it's just a letter that described you. So it's incriminating, but it's circumstantial.
Yes.
So it'd be like some weirdo wandering around with a photo of you in their pockets. Like, why do you have this?
Well, Connor, if I might suggest, when he does eventually wake up, you could question him. But if this man is after you and you're whatever.
He rolled an 8. He's only fatigued.
Yeah. My suggestion, Connor, would be that you bring him with you. If you're to make a case to your family, then this is it right here, that you're being pursued by nefarious elements.
Yes, let's find out which nefarious elements.
Though I guess the letter kind of does that too, but I don't think they'd question your honor over a letter, would they?
But it's not really a letter, though. The problem is the note is nothing really incriminating.
True, I guess it more applies to him. So I guess he's coming with us, then. You'll enjoy your time with us. I can tell you so many prayers and stories of Salumer.
Oh, no.
Well, I can practice my sermons on you.
Oh, God. He says that,
please, anything but that.
If you're truly a man of honor, you'll finish me quickly.
Well, you are suddenly very, very important. I mean, your safety is guaranteed for now.
Man,
he gets very stone-faced. Looks like he's not interested.
But your armor is so nice.
What is that?
Literally wearing his plate armor in front of him.
Right? Yeah. He's. Ooh.
If he really means that, though, we could trade.
I suppose that's on you too.
Well, I mean, if he would rather have an honorable death, and the matters of the material world no longer matter to you once you're passed on to the other side, once you've ascended, then you could merely just give us the information. But that's the word we use. What are you talking about? I see the look in your face, Red.
That's a.
You ascend through the light of Sulamer. That's what you do.
It's a good. I mean, it's a pitch. I really have to roleplay. I have to put my mind.
He's the one that pitched it. He's the one. If you really mean that, to kill me honorably. So if you want to die honorably, I'll kill you right now on an honorably painful fashion as a true warrior. So long as you give us what we need.
Yeah, no, it's true. I'm saying I need to get into the mindset of somebody who actually is like a faithful follower of Salumer. This guy might take you up on that offer. But hey, we've got dice, so why don't you give me will of negotiation?
I pass.
You'll pass? Okay.
I'm not that guy.
You're not that guy?
That's fine.
Yeah. Well, if Connor would oblige, I could instead make a different offer here, and that's if you tell us all things truthfully and honestly about who gave you this letter and why, then we may let you go. If that is what you'd be willing to do, Connor. Would that be a fair arrangement?
As
He's
long
already
as he
lost thousands
promises.
of denarii of equipment here.
Yes, as long as he does not threaten me again. I do
Yeah.
have a tendency to end threats.
He spits some blood. He says, I've failed in my duties. I'm no longer a threat to you. You could kill me or let me go, but I shan't be giving you any information. Any more information than that.
I assume no negotiation attempt then.
I mean, you give it a try.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a try.
All right.
And Connor could back me up if he wants.
Yeah.
It is not successful.
Mm.
In a lot of that 25% chance to fail on 2d6.
I mean, it's why I said I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
I'll do it then.
That's
Okay,
considerable.
Just
Okay.
supersede me on that and say Connor flexes nobility on him.
Yeah. All right. So, Connor, give me something. What is it that you want to get from this guy?
My problem is not with him. My problem is with who hired you. I'd like to know their name so I can deal with them personally and not take it out on you.
Mm. It's 2 successes. But this guy's entire reason for being right now is safeguarding this information. Here's what he's going to say. He's going to say, my honor is worth more. What I can tell you is that it is a noble family, a powerful noble family, wanted to keep you from reaching your estate in Femerage. Femerage. The Lavier estate. You have enemies in high places. We were ordered to take you alive, preferably, but failing that, dead would have sufficed as well. If I were you, I would proceed with caution on your way back home.
How much were they paying you for this?
He gets irate. He says, I'm not some pathetic mercenary. I do this. I serve my house honorably, and I'm paid. I am paid salaried for my service and for my honor. But do not mistake me for a common cut purse or brigand.
Oh, so you do have a believable ransom.
Oh, and at that he gets kind of quiet.
Let's make sure the rope is nice and tight on his wrists. Yeah, let's see what my father has to say about you.
Yes, his expression darkens, but he says nothing else and won't struggle if you guys try to lead him or take him with you.
Seems
Yeah,
to
I
me
mean-
that the Riddler's route was the better way to go.
Yeah, usually like nobles and that kind of thing, like the purpose of the ransom is don't kill me. If you return me alive, we'll give you stuff.
Well, they just said that dead was the way they were willing to go as well.
Oh, well, I don't have the authority or stomach to execute people.
No. I meant that Connor. If they had killed Connor in the execution, that was fine as well. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. They were
Yeah.
okay with killing Connor if they had to.
They wanted to take you alive, but they were willing to kill you because they were told that killing you was fine as well.
Well, so what do you want to do with this guy?
I suppose if he does clearly have a ransom, we have him captured, he works for nobility and is an important piece of evidence, then bringing him with us probably is the best idea.
If he claims he works for somebody, that means that somebody in power wants you dead, and he's the link to it.
Well, a powerful noble family
Exactly.
that he won't give up is the thing.
We are perhaps not the best interrogators in the world, but I
Well-
imagine your family has resources.
And I actually have interrogation as a skill. So he works for somebody but won't tell us who it is.
Right.
Correct.
He would rather die than give it up.
He claims he has honor, and that honor won't allow him to sell out the people that he works for.
Well, yeah, because claiming that you work for somebody who can't tell us who it is not. That's pretty crazy. Well, it's your call. We have an errand about us. We can either take him with us or leave him here. I don't know.
I mean, essentially, the information he's given up is information that we would assumedly already have known.
Yeah, so let's see if we can't get him to give up what we don't know. Either on the way there or facing noble court.
Well, we can get him to his feet. Who's going to watch him to make sure he doesn't escape?
Connor's got the rope, so Potter will help.
Yeah, I mean, Lord Connor, you have an estate. We can take him there and put him in the dungeon.
Yes.
Precisely.
Precisely. Okay. And then I guess you guys are going to continue on your journey back to the town. Now, if there is details about the town / city of Fermerouge, I did not find it in the book. We had decided that this was going to be the ancestral home of Connor and his family, who we know are alumen smiths. They run a mine, right? And I assume they also fashion the weapons. And
Weapons,
this is
armor, whatever else might be made with it.
yeah, and this is why Connor has such nice shiny armor. How many days of travel since you left the
I
city?
guess, like, how many days of travel total?
In case you ever need it read, page 163. That's where Fenrir is mentioned.
Awesome. Thank you. 163. I'm going to check that out.
It's on the right-hand side, halfway down.
Yeah, this will just be for
Cool.
quick medicine rolls for Anushka.
Because it's not like the Atlas... not like the Atlas thing, it's just in the backstory of the Abattoir territory.
Yeah, you said 163?
Yeah, 163.
Awesome. I will check that out. Yeah, there's so much information, and I think it's laid out pretty well in most cases, but sometimes there are things that are only mentioned in passing in the description of other things. And
Well, this one's mentioned a couple of times. I think we only brought it up originally because it's where the noble badger? What do you got?
he's a raccoon. I think
Raccoon.
officially it was badgers, but yeah, we're gonna kind of retcon it a little bit and say that Connor's family was involved in that as well, and sort of like a shared win between the two houses there.
Because that's where the family of or the family of badgers that owned the area were, and they eventually, surrendered to the Abattoir and became noble owners of the land. Because they were formerly with the Rinaldi.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird cross things. I think we brought it up before, how they used to apparently be... What'd you say they were, Arcloid?
They used to be from the Granvert Woods.
Right. They used to be somewhere else, which I guess made more sense for them to be Rinaldi back when they were closer to Triskellion. But now
Oh,
they're
you
on
can
the...
find them in the old Bislavery Splat book from first edition.
Oh yeah.
Right, but so now there used to be former Rinaldi on the coast, on the far end of the Abattoir territory. Which is probably why the Acrobites attacked them so easily. Because the Acrobites start off in Ceylon and move towards Triskellion on their march.
Cool.
So how many days?
Yeah, sorry. So it's been
Alright.
2 days since leaving Salon Sushal Soldier. And you've got another day to a day and a half before you reach the
Right.
town.
That's more academics rolls from our doctor.
Yep, that is 3 more successes for you across those 2 days. And if
Huzzah! I am
if
still
nothing happens
injured.
for the next 2, I'll go ahead and roll those.
Yeah, go right ahead and roll those as well.
That is an additional 2 for you. I should maybe just choose academics medicine, honestly.
Yeah, on that
I know I
favorite
did.
roll.
So I'll go
And
ahead
I'm
and
not even a
reroll.
doctor.
Congratulations,
Oh,
that's an
nice.
extra 1. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across 4 days. Extra.
I'm feeling
Nice.
better already, Doc.
How close are we, Anushka?
I'm halfway there.
Hey, that's not bad. It's nice to actually have a doctor in the party. In my other game, there was some white magic, but no one who was doing consistent healing, and yeah, it can take a while. All right then. So yeah, as you followed the road now 4 days from the city, and you crest a hill, and you can see in the distance the tall columns of smoke rising from above the great forges in Fermerouge. And as you approach the city gates, you can see the heraldry of Connor's family.
Does that look like again?
Yeah, the heraldry? That's a
It's
question for Connor.
I would, because of the name and the I don't have any examples on me personally, but I do know that certain nobles have been given like quote unquote punish or jokey house names.
Ooh.
So this would be a image of a hand and a crawfish on a quartered, I'm gonna say red and white field of in a circle. I don't know all the heraldry terms. I'm not that kind of nerd.
Doing better than I would be doing, so I like it.
So I
And
assume it's a raccoon hand.
Yes.
yeah. And that is the crawfish. I guess the name means like fisherman,
Well, washer of crawfish.
washer of crawfish. Okay. All right. Right. Okay. So you're greeted by several of the city guard at the entrance. They approach you, Connor, and they say that your father wishes to see you immediately. They received your forward message, and that it is urgent that you go to speak with him.
Thank you. While I am with my father, take this man to the dungeon. We will be talking to him shortly. And he releases the prisoner.
All right. He gets marched to the dungeon with his head held high, but has continued to be silent pretty much since your interrogation several days prior. Are you taking your friends with you, or are they going to go rest up around town?
They can come with.
Actually, I
If
think
they
I'd like to
believe in
walk
the
around
family.
town.
Yeah.
Right.
I would like
think I
to-
have some business.
I'd actually like to investigate these rumors that I've heard about the noble family here stealing secrets from the forges of Inclume.
All right.
Mhm.
Let's do that. Let's get gossip.
Harmon
Mind gossip.
Quest.
No, that's a legally distinct show that we can't copyright infringe upon.
No, why must they do this to us?
And
I'm
is
not
the
going to
doctor
talk to
gonna?
anybody about it. No, I'm not going around talking to people about it. I just mean I'm going to walk around looking at these forges.
Oh, right. Okay, checking out the forges. Okay.
Wait, I'm also at the forges, but for a different reason.
All right. So the forges, to actually like get into the working area, you need to be cleared. You need to belong to sort of the guild or the houses that are forging, but they do have like there is like a shopping area, and from there you can see sort
They
of
have
what's going
someone
on.
who's there to talk to customers and take orders. They have like an
Exactly.
office or
Yep.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably where I am going.
Cool. I don't think by just observing, unless you have some sort of specialized knowledge of like weaponsmithing or forging.
No, I'm not trying super hard, right? I don't like.
Right.
I'm not gonna like do anything that would require a roll. Like literally, I walk as close to anything as I'm allowed to. I walk past things. If I don't know things automatically, then if it's not like a level of something everybody would know, then I don't know it. I'm just looking.
Yeah. They're very impressive forges, and you can see it's probably pretty cool to see, smiths and people pouring molten metals, from a great distance even, but you can still kind of see it. It looks very cool. But you can't discern any like useful information from that. So the doctor, why are you at the forges?
I'm here because I have 2 sets of plate armor, and I want them to have a look at them for a particular reason. So these are incredibly expensive, specialized pieces of armor that must have been crafted by a particular person or a particular guild.
I mean,
And
they
given
almost
that,
certainly have a maker's mark on them.
exactly. So you got to what I was thinking. These people would undoubtedly know what this maker's mark is, or at least be able to point us to the general area that this maker's mark might be from, at which point we now have more information about our assailants. Because if they've been this incredibly funded, they're probably from there.
All right. So you bring it up to a fairly wide cattle, who is he looks like he's part-time smith, part-time shop owner. He's probably just come back from the smithing part, so he's a little bit sweaty. He's dabbing his brow, but when you approach him with these things, he says like, "Oh, yes, that's fine work. That's pretty well made." And he'll examine, shoulder pad or whatever it is that you hand him, and he'll say, "Ah, yes, this is from the forges of the Enclume. Fine work. No one could contest that they are quite skilled at their craft. Of course, when working with Alumen, the finest smiths will be found here. But hats off. This is a very well tooled piece of metal you've got there. How much was it?" He asks with genuine curiosity.
Oh,
About 8
thousands, I
pints.
believe.
Did you say
I'm,
8
of course,
pints?
just a simple doctor. I don't make nearly this much in perhaps my entire life. But my master, however, is rolling in far more money, especially these days.
Oh, well, if you'd be looking for anything that we could provide for your master, I promise you a fair price for it, and superb quality, such that would rival even the Eclume smiths.
Of course. I understand you probably don't have this amount of money just simply lying around you, but you are in town and, of course, serve his house. If you can go ahead and give me a writ for it, I'll go ahead and leave one of these sets of armor with you. I've grown rather fond of this one, though. You can also have, like, these 2 spears if you want. You probably have the cash for that, though.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? He will totally do that.
Yeah,
Let's
You know what
say...
you
the
could do,
spears are
Griff?
each 3 denarii each, so if it's like half that, I'll just take 3.
Griff, what you could do is say that you're giving him one suit of armor to have him retailor the other one to your body.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm probably much smaller than those horses.
Yeah.
So one of them's getting retailored, the other one is going to be in their possession, which, of course, ultimately belongs to the house. So I'm just going to go ahead and write, like, a writ for plate armor. And we'll determine how much money that is at a future point if it ever comes up.
Are you selling it to them, or?
My intention is to sell it so that everyone gets money later. But they probably don't have money on it.
Used goods are only worth 30% of their normal value.
Only 30%.
Unless you have haggling, which I think brings it up to 40%.
Yeah.
And because Harmon isn't mercenary, he doesn't have haggling yet.
Well,
Yeah.
The
no,
books is
not going to
20%.
get it. Oh, was it 20%? Sorry, I had it the other way around.
You're
Yeah,
good.
20%.
Yeah,
Oh
you're
man, it
20%.
just keeps going lower, lower all the
I
time.
know.
Well, literally, this is a discussion I had with Red before,
Yeah.
and I couldn't remember what it was, but I had it in the discussion.
Right. So 20% of a plate armor is still going to be 240 denarii.
Yeah, wow.
So I'm going to go ahead and just write that down, and eventually we'll probably cycle through the family, and the family will go like, hey, yeah, our son is back, and he brought this. Just give him some extra change for it. So
Gotcha.
that's what I'm going to busy myself with. I'm going through business. And of course, I'm going to drop
Okay.
Connor's name every chance I can.
Okay, cool. You could also, if you want, 2 denarii for the spears. He'll pay you that much to take them off
Cool.
your hands.
Okay.
Um,
Done and done.
all right, excellent.
48. Denarii in the party pool.
Cool. Okay, Anushka, how about you? Are you tracking with Connor? Are you just doing your own thing? Are you getting?
Oh, I'm following Connor.
Okay. All right, then let's jump over with Connor and Anushka to the estate house of the Lavier estate. You're welcomed in. You're ushered in, even, and shortly are brought before your father, who is a graying raccoon. You can see that in his day he had fur the coloration of Connor's, but the age is apparent, and he has kind of a weary expression on his face. But he greets you with open arms and a very manly hug. Boom. He says, "Oh, my son, it is good that you came as swiftly as you did. We have enemies on all sides of us, but I hear that you bring word of some troubling news, troubling even for the entire, the whole of Calabria. By comparison, our problems may seem small, but I assure you, we will deal with them all in kind. Please help yourselves to some food, and your friend here as well."
Yeah, this is Anushka. She's in my employ.
Arr, I say with my mouth full.
Charming.
This is Potter, my squire. He can tell you all about the attack on Mage Cross by our duplicitous king. He sent us to Mage Cross to warn them of that he would be burning their town down should we not capture a bandit by name of Tassobianco. He was targeting nobility. So we did our duty. We took down Tassobianco and we presented him to Triskellion's justice. And then we were sent back in that direction. The king apparently wanted us to be within the town while he was having his men burn it down. It was an affront to justice, to chivalry. Yeah, he's fuming about this.
Yeah, your father seems conciliatory. He is outraged at the notion, almost more outraged over the fact that you were basically implicated or set up. He's more outraged about that than about the burning of a village.
Yeah, of course.
But he's this king of ours has no honor. This is most troubling. Perhaps it is time for the Avoir de Poix to take our rightful place and leading the country, not this petulant boy king. It does get my ire up. I apologize. Even with his ire up, Adrian doesn't seem particularly fuming or anything like that. He's actually a very level-tempered man, and in fact, for the whole time that you've known him,
It's Andre.
yeah, it sounds right. He just doesn't get physically worked up. He also rarely ever laughs. He's the kind of person who says, quite droll, but will never actually laugh out loud. Anyhow, so yes, let's see. He says, this is something that we should press for. We should use our connections and see what we can do. I personally believe the time is right for the War de Pra to take their place, to overthrow the weak and money-hungry Rinaldi. However, as I mentioned, we have more pressing business. Have you heard of the charges brought against us by the Enclume?
I have, and apparently they sent agents out to capture me on my way home.
What?
I have one of them in the dungeon now. He would not tell us who his employer was, but I figured you have men to put him to the question.
Oh, certainly. We will get answers from him. These accusations they level against us of stealing their techniques is preposterous. And this is an all-out act of war, as far as I'm concerned. Once we have the proof, well, it should speed along things quite well. It is days away from our official hearing, where we will plead our case. But this is important. This is important information. I thank you for bringing it to me. You have done us proud, and we will see that justice is done now that you have returned, son.
Thank you, Father.
In the meanwhile, I would like to hear more of your travels. Are these your only traveling companions? I'm impressed that you evaded your captors with such, well, a bold squire and a nimble messenger, to be sure. And I know that you're no slouch in a fight, but, well, from your description, these men seemed well armed.
I've made the acquaintance of a Harmon, a donkey of exceptional skill, and an armadillo who practices the medical arts and is a brother of Solomon.
Well, I ask that you bring them here as soon as you can. I would meet your companions. I would thank them for the justice they have done to you, to our house.
But of course.
And tonight we will feast. Your return is calls for celebration, and you will all, of course, be staying here and enjoying the luxuries of home. And with that, we're going to jump ahead a little bit.
7 years later.
7, exactly. Post-apocalyptic Calabria.
Not too much different.
Not too, yeah.
Ironically, oddly, a lot more trees.
Just perpetual Bronze Age collapse and zombies everywhere, I suppose.
Well, I mean,
Still
after the
crossbows,
collapse of the
go figure.
Biscavariate, the Avatupois, and the Rinaldi, the Doloros took over. Trees everywhere. Gardens, shrines, whole deal.
Well, at least it's very pretty apocalypse. But yeah, I'm sort of inevitably on my way to the castle anyway, so I guess that's kind of where we meet up.
Anonymous is a lot like Thanos. Inevitable.
I'm just trying to figure out, like, how much medicine can I get?
Half.
Only half. Oh, no.
All right. Okay.
So I think we were heading to the castle, meeting back up, and sharing a bit of information.
Indeed. You guys have 3 days before this trial is going to be held, during which time you're given free reign around the town.
Excellent.
And,
I bill myself to a doctor.
Man, why you gotta make the doctor feel bad? You do have access to really nice sleeping conditions, so factor that in when
Well, I
doing
have
your
access to
daily
living
healing.
conditions, but I also have access to this guy here who apparently is getting better at medicine.
Not yet,
Yeah.
but very soon.
Soon.
Well, you took favorite use of medicine, so that's a start.
Y'all remembering to actually do that. So that's day
Yeah, so
one.
if you wanted to try 3 more rolls, I wouldn't say no to that.
Day 2, and day 3 is rolling. Day 3. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more for you across 3 days.
Excellent. Well, if nothing happens to me over the next 3 days, I shall have a complete and total recovery.
Hooray! See, all you have to do is just not fly around 24/7 on week-long trips to deliver messages.
Well, yeah, but someone's got to pay the bills.
Oh, someone's paying the bills. Did you hear how much that armor was worth? I got a free fitting with it too.
So yeah, no, I'll take it easy. Although I'm not sure how nice Connor's town is.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. That's one that maybe we should spend a moment discussing. So, I still didn't get a chance to look at the references in the book, but I assume that this is probably not a bad place to be. It's a coastal town, so I imagine that you could find some interesting imports from the west here. And we know that they're excellent alloman smiths, so you can find a lot of really nice light metal armor and weapons. And, rods, things like that.
It was nice enough that the nobility back in the day decided to grant Badger's nobility for their own place. Instead of tearing it to the ground or whatever. Because this is also during the time of the Acolytes.
Yeah. And I guess over the next 3 days, the question also is, we have 248 between us, 248 denarii. Do we want to do an even split of that, or do we have any kind of plan we want to do with it?
Well, I'm gonna need that money if I'm gonna be able to
Mm-hmm.
live this high life.
Right.
It easy. I'm guessing this town though is incredibly boring. What is?
I mean, compared to
So I guess no one's opposed to an even
Triskellion,
split.
you can
We're splitting it.
take in theater or go to the pit fighting arenas or avail yourself to bawds and other sex workers.
Sorry, did you say pit fighting?
Or go to the baths and get a serious deep grooming. Whereas here, I'm not sure what you do.
I've got great crawfish, really good seafood.
Well, the food is good. Okay, that's always a positive note. That the food is good.
Crawfish around here always clean before you eat it.
Always very clean.
Right, but the trick is that I can't eat heavy food. Otherwise, I won't be able to fly. That's my entire job.
Right.
So what are you eating?
Salads.
And because this is a French area, there's lots of butter in them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
butter is a European thing. Trust me, I have been
does
going
butter
through.
exist?
Yeah, European cooking.
Oh, right.
But then again, this gets into the dairy argument, which always cracks me up.
Aren't they
Connor's a kinky little guy. He likes his butter.
We're gonna put a moratorium on that. One, because it raises many more questions than it answers, and two, because I'm very hungry. So we're just gonna sidestep the. Yeah, but yeah, it's probably pretty boring. Short answer, Anushka. You can look around town unless you have a keen interest in metallurgy. You're probably not gonna have a whole lot to do here. Also, though, you guys are currently guests of the Levere family, so you don't have to spend money on your living expenses. You've been given some pretty nice digs for your stay here.
Even better. Wow.
Yeah.
This is so much better than the last. If only Gaston were here to see this.
Oh.
Think he would have liked just a town with almost nothing to do except eat and enjoy metallurgy. What a strange friend of yours.
So Arcloyd, you have been very helpful in posting a list of your family relations here. Are all of these people serving in the town? Like, are they all there now?
I'd say yes. His brother Bruce would be working with the church, so he might be at a different chapel, but it would stand to reason that he'd stay close to home.
Cool.
It's always
Okay.
a good move to give the GM, who you already know wants to start a war on the continent, a list of all of your family members and exactly where they are.
Yep.
Surely nothing bad will happen.
Surely not.
My background
Alright.
is his backyard.
Cool. All right. So yeah, if there's nothing else, we can jump ahead to this trial, and see how the Levere family fares, in their accused crimes of stealing from the Enclume.
Where's the
Yeah.
trial being held?
Trial is going to be held here in town. It's going to be resided over by a member of the Crinier family, in matters where sort of like households or lords are going against one another. They usually will bring in a third party. So in this case, Philippe Crinier will be presiding. The Crinier is another one of the major avoirdupois households.
And what did we get from our captive?
Oh, very good question. All right. Captive was a fairly stalwart, but you did put him to the question, as it were. And this is what you managed to uncover. What your family's guards managed to uncover. That he was indeed hired by, or not even hired by, but basically a member of a knight in service of the Enclume household. He was told and seems to fully believe that your family was stealing secrets from them. And also, most disconcertingly, that you yourself, Connor, were an enemy of the crown, that you had committed treason against the High King Jakoba. And suggested that you were going to incite a rebellion. So there were enough things, while inciting a rebellion and slights against the Rinaldi are not the worst thing in terms of when it comes to the legal system here in the Avoirdupois territory. It's sort of just like that added to the real charges of theft is kind of the big thing, of sort of like, I don't know if it would be like sabotage or some sort of business, tampering in business. Jeez, I don't know.
Wouldn't the evidence gathered by the person in the dungeon be to a separate trial? Because one, either it only adds to the Enclume side of the trial. Yes, we believed that they were stealing from us so much that we hired somebody to deal with it.
Well,
or it's a countersuit against the Enclume from your side for crime.
It's a medieval trial.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is that you post that you have the person captive or whatever. You post it for a certain number of days as required by law, which is usually ridiculous, like 30 or 60 or something like that, because it's the Middle Ages and moving around is difficult. Then your job is to get as many people as you can, of as much status as you can, to show up and say that you're right.
Well, that's not what this trial is about, though. This trial is about the theft of the Enclume smelting method. So that's what I'm saying. This guy has nothing to do with this trial other than to aid the Enclume side of things, to say, we believe this so strongly that, yes, we sent this guy out here, which is the admission of a different crime, which is not what this court is about.
Right. Well, so what we need to do is, so what's your end goal here? Do you want to get the king's support?
Connor.
Right now, I
Yeah.
want to prove his family innocent, so he will have support with the king with the High Duke of Ironclaw.
Do you know
So
that your
who do you
family
want
is
to
innocent?
declare that you're innocent?
Yes, I don't know that they're innocent. I
Who
didn't
do you
ask.
want to say that you're innocent? Who would say this?
Mm.
I mean, who's going to be your judge or your authority? Do you want the Pope to say you're innocent?
Well, you have the third party here. That's the magistrate of this court, I guess.
I mean, that's why I'm asking. Like, I know you guys are saying, like, who would the third party be? Who's your judge?
Well, he just said who
Oh,
it was.
yes,
I've already
we did.
forgotten.
Yeah, as Philippe Crinier. He's the first son of the Crinier household currently, and going to be acting judge for this.
Because they've come here, and I
So,
assume the
and-
Enclume
and-
also are sending somebody over as their representative.
And he's a prince, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, then there you go. All right, perfect. All you do is get this guy to show up, present the evidence, get him to say yes, and you're gold.
But that isn't the guy that we've gotten information from doesn't support anything on our side.
Right,
but
this
he
is
doesn't
like
know.
an adjudication between two different noble families. You can't just out-noble them necessarily.
Well, no, I'm saying that the
Actually,
information
yes.
the guy from the dungeon has does not support the argument that's on trial.
Yeah, well, he's irrelevant.
Well, yeah, that's
I
what I'm
mean-
saying. There's nothing to be used there. In fact, even bringing him up only supports the Enclume's
Well,
argument.
then you got to decide what you want to do with him. You could get him to sign a confession. You could forge a confession. You could get a confession under duress, which is not something I like to mention.
You do have him captive, and you do have days to enact a plan.
I mean, putting him in jail, and you know, I know he did a big thing of saying it wouldn't be honorable for him to give it up. Putting him in jail for like 30 days, you know, with no sunlight, he might change his mind.
It's been 3 days.
It's been 3 days, yeah.
I mean, you know, I mean, it depends on how Game of Thrones you guys want to get here. I mean, he might confess something, but even then, is the confession of some random. I would keep wanting to say he's some random guy, but he had plate mail and he's illiterate, which means he's not just some random guy. He was educated and well funded, so I'm a little surprised that no one's come looking for him, but I'm not that surprised. And even if he does confess to the crime, it's not that much more evidence. It's just something nice to have. The question is what you're going to want to do with him. Really, you just need to get the prince on your side.
Really, what you need is evidence of your own family's innocence.
Evidence would be nice, but just I hate to sound so cynical. Just having the prince declare in your favor. I mean, you can get him on your side. Evidence might help that, but you're just looking to have it declared. You don't necessarily.
I don't know if Connor would have the evidence himself. I'm sure his father would.
I mean, all right, it's just a weird argument, I think, to say, well, you know, we don't need any of the stuff that is here to be talked about. We just need to make sure that we're friends with the guy who's...
Well, the prince could show up and rule against you because your enemies have paid him to rule against you.
Yeah. What if the prince never showed up?
I mean, it depends on, you know, this isn't like Dungeons and Dragons where good and evil are tangible concepts of the universe.
No, I don't know. In my mind, I'm just thinking people that have a job do their job. Maybe
that'd be
I'm just the...
Now, that's a fantasy.
yeah.
But it's a fantasy that allows all society to
So-
run. So, like, it's not that bad.
Question I have is, what are the consequences of this trial? If it is proved that the family has the techniques from this other family, are they just like, they can't forge anything ever at all? Or what's punishment? Is it going to be a payment, or what
So
are they
it-
looking for in damages here?
It's going to be a permanent tariff, taxation, basically. In the preamble or whatever, these guys have said that they want an embarrassingly large tax on all of the goods that are sold by Connor's family. It's basically
Right,
going to
vassalization, then.
yeah through economy.
I'm just saying, from our side, it would be nice to know that Connor's family aren't a bunch of criminals.
Yeah. Like Connor doesn't want to know, so he doesn't have to get caught lying.
Yeah, plausible
Mm,
deniability. I understand. I'm just saying that I would like to know that I'm supporting the good guys.
Then, in terms of evidence, we try to prove that they're different, which would mean we'd have to be crafters or no crafters who can demonstrate that. Or B, prove that they're the same because that's the way it has to be because there's no other way to work the thing. But that it wasn't stolen, but independent people somehow made it up.
Well, I mean,
Which is hard to prove.
well, the people from Inclume are the best forges. Inclume has the best forges in the entire continent, I believe. So, if Connor's family just starts making the same shit that Inclume is making at the same quality, it is out of nowhere. It is quite a damning evidence, because otherwise, why weren't you doing it before? What happened? What was the change?
Right. And then, of course, barring evidence, there's, of course, just speaking so eloquently, we get our point across better than they do. And in a perfectly fair trial where no one has been bribed, then we get away with it because it's just one person saying stuff versus another.
But again, I think it also behooves the Inclume side of the
Mhm.
argument that they hired an entire group to kidnap
Right.
Connor in the belief that they've been robbed.
So if this were a modern trial, the question would be, hey, they definitely filed ahead of time what evidences they're going to present, and those are viewable by the defense so that they can form a counter argument before they get there. But this is the Renaissance, and it's whatever rules the prince set. So what the rules has the prince set, and what do we know about what they're bringing as damning evidence against us?
right. Let's see. So right. So in terms of damning evidence, um the Inclume have said that they have evidence, but they have not shared what it is yet. And that seems to be enough for the prince. So yeah. He seems like currently it's going to be what has he asked the Lever family for in terms of defense? I guess he's asked them to provide sort of information about their process in general, probably the kind of trade secrets you don't normally want to like hand out. And let's say, Connor, you've had a conversation with your father about this, and he's resistant to do that. He doesn't think that that you guys should have to. He thinks that you guys are innocent, that this is an ugly attack on your character by a hateful, jealous, and insecure house.
And the trial itself could be an attempt to steal secrets.
There you go. Yeah.
I was
Right.
about to say that.
But if they're the best already, why are they trying to steal secrets from you?
Because they're jealous.
In case there's something they don't know. And then they can claim it was theirs all along. Like they're doing right now. Any
Oh,
advancement was really just what we were working on the whole time, so you stole from us.
You assume.
Well, Father, if they want our secrets, they can give out theirs.
My feelings exactly.
So that would be a critical point in the trial, doing the negotiation to determine whether or not both sides present their secrets to each other equally.
Well,
And then, of course, you must ask the arbiter why we would want that known if we already knew it.
pointedly, we're also not the ones defending Connor's family in court, right?
Right. We'll
It's not to come down to
You guys
our
are-
negotiation rules.
Yeah, I assume like we're
That's
not
true.
actually their lawyers.
Yeah.
That would be a very ill-advised choice.
Mhm.
But I do want to give you guys the opportunity if you wanted, if you came to the conclusion that you had something to add in terms of evidence, you already brought the attempted kidnapper / assassin.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah, if
lean,
there's
lean
other
into
things like
Connor
that.
and say, hey, Connor, push for trial by combat.
That would
Yeah.
be funny. And I know Theta's made a great point. The attempted murder / kidnapping isn't technically relevant to the trial in terms of evidence, but it is highly relevant in terms of extra material that proves character and intent.
Again, though, I think it only
In a
proves...
logical way. In a less logical way, it's a way of emotionally pushing, like, look, we were attacked, they hate us, they're just trying to get us.
Right, but if they think that they actually are being stolen from, I think it only proves to their side that they think it so strongly that they've taken action.
Right, but instead of giving it to the authority of the prince to settle it entirely, they decided to do an attack on their son instead, who hadn't even been there for ages, and they decided to try to kill him. Obviously, there's nothing but ill bandits on their side. That would be the argument.
Right, and we're forgetting the most important thing here, which is that we only have 15 minutes before the next game starts.
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
So my suggestion then would be, yes, we should offer up our prisoner. They should be compelling emotional evidence of the ill intent of the opposite side.
I mean,
and then hopefully their lawyers can press that up as a good argument.
I mean, they're evidence, but they're weak evidence. The prince is probably already going to rule in your favor. This is just a big, huge formality.
Why would you think he would already rule in their favor, though?
We don't
Well,
know
that's
yet.
a good question. Do you have any reason to think he wouldn't rule in your favor?
Well, yeah, that this is a out of the bounds noble family. Sorry, Connor. And Clume is the most important forge city headed by a family in the entire continent. Why would he side with these people over in Clume?
Okay, well then you're screwed.
Well, that's why I'm asking why you think they're going to side on Connor's favor over the, why is the court going to side with Microsoft over nobody?
Trying to kill Connor, but I'm not sure what settlement you're looking for.
Well, I guess our best witnesses would be members of the crafts guilds, especially those involved with metalsmithing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what restitution you're looking for. I mean, even if the prince rules in your favor, he might not just say, "Yeah, they've committed enormities. We'll write them a strongly worded letter and censure them to tell them to stop."
Well, I mean, we're the ones on the fence here, so we would be, or Connor's family would end up vassalized as a part of a failure of the trial.
That's what
Yeah.
Enclume is pushing for. But yeah, I think Rafferty's saying that they might not even they might rule in Enclume's favor, but still decide that the punishment would be like, hey, knock it off. You're not allowed to produce.
That's what
this
I was
thing.
saying. But
Yeah.
but these are things. I am just a lowly messenger, so these are things outside my purview and place to talk about. Frankly,
I would
can't even
assume
read.
any lawyer has more than 2d6 dice, so they are better than every single one of us.
Yep.
Okay.
That's why I'm
Right.
only looking at it from the
So we can do
scope.
at best our assistance to it. Connor advises the don't share unless they share, which would be an assistance. I advise give the prisoner make an emotional argument, and that's a D8 on their side.
Like I said, I'm just looking at this from the scope of, hey, I've traveled the world, right? I'm from this area. This is a nobody area to me, and then Clume is known world continent wide. Why would anybody side against a Clume?
Harmon, you suggested trial by combat earlier, right?
Yeah.
I want to suggest that that's also an assistance dice. If he's wearing Connor's family's armor against one of their fighters wearing their armor, and he wins, then obviously the family's armor is better, and they can't possibly be the same anyway. So if they want to accept that, that's there. They don't even have to do it. Whether or not they accept or not is also evidence and an assistance.
I kind of love
Harmon's
that.
mere presence ought to help this. So
I
I would say there are 3 points at which all of us can at least have given some assistance to the council.
I like
Does that make sense?
I like that a lot. I think it was a lot of discussion to get there, but I do appreciate that. Yeah, Griffin, you laid it out pretty well. That like here's 3 aspects that you guys can positively influence this trial in your favor. I will say that I do want to narrate the results a little bit, but I also think that maybe we should stop it here and pick it up next week.
Oh yeah, consider the consequences.
Yeah, a little
We
bit.
also gone ahead and completed all of our goals, so
I think
let's
you
go
guys
ahead.
did.
I mean, if
Let's
it's trial
do
by
it.
combat, we throw Potter in there so he can get into a jousting competition with the king.
Oh yeah, if Connor
Yeah.
loses terribly, the armor can't possibly be the same because look how terribly he lost.
You sure you're not a lawyer, Griffin? Poor
I'm
Potter.
sure it was a calling at
Armor
another
didn't
time.
fit. You must have quit.
There you go. I gotta say, I'm loving that Potter there's such big plans for him, and that you're keeping him alive through some pretty sticky combat situations. That's fun.
Mhm.
So let's see. I really hope he survives.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Okay.
do it.
Says the
So
guy with
let's-
full authority over it.
I mean, I'm not going to go out of my way to poison your NPCs, but I might throw beefy guys after him. And we'll see how the dice land. I'm more than happy to do that. All right, so let's go through our end of game maintenance while we still have some minutes left. We'll start with Theta again. So did you get a chance to roleplay your motto this game?
I am stronger.
You did single-handedly take down a good deal number of these assailants without much difficulty, even with rolling kind of low. Like, I'm glad that I was able to provide some kind of challenge. I was afraid, looking at Harmon's stats, that it was going to be very one-sided for a while, but no, I feel good about that combat.
Swingy. Everybody can roll bad.
That's true.
We
All
did.
right. I think you did. No one died this time, though, right? So that's got something.
A
And
number
I
of them
only
did.
think, I mean, a number of them did. That's true. I think currently Anushka is still the only one of you who's injured, which is something.
No, Anushka's fine now.
He's healed now.
I'm healed.
Oh, never mind. Hey,
Finally.
well done. Okay, Arcloid. Motto.
One hand washes the other.
Okay. Do you think you managed to roleplay that this game? You did look after Potter to some degree. Potter looked after you too as well, I guess.
I believe so.
We
And
do
of
a
course,
kind of a-
honors are mostly based on the spirit of them rather than directly living up to it, like with a specific action or whatnot.
Correct. Yes. All right.
And like we played the whole noble game, and that's really like doing favors for other people and expecting favors in return.
That is true. Yeah. Yep. And you had a good opportunity to a lot of opportunities to really like throw your title around a little bit, and also I think express Connor's values, which is good. Okay. Yeah, sorry.
I actually missed a couple times when I could have used my etiquette gift, but I still just pass on them, so it's all good.
Yeah, you were rolling pretty well there when you were meeting with the Archduke. All right, Griffin, tell us about the doctor.
The doctor, first do no harm, second get paid. Oh boy, I got paid today.
Yeah, I think that's a big check mark.
Got paid for healing Anushka for like the past week, and then for the next 3 weeks once she gets injured again.
That's true. Does that complete your healing somebody?
I healed someone's
goal?
injuries or sickness.
All
And
right,
I reached
then.
the over to Broadlands.
Yes, you guys completed that as well.
Mhm. For
Okay.
a personal gift, I recommend just medicine.
Yeah, man. Take it in good health.
Yeah, medicine.
All right. And Rafferty with Anushka?
I mean, I got to the Avatar domain just like everybody else. That was the only goal I had.
Although,
And yeah, no, I definitely knew no fear because I went after those sparrows, even when injured, and served with joy.
And Anushka's a badass.
Anushka
No.
it has
Anushka's
no
a
fear.
badass.
Ha. Oh man. Okay, that's all I can take for today.
Push.
Speaking of goals, you guys are right. You completed your making it to the Avoirdupois lands. I'm gonna offer insider with the Lever family estate. I guess that's silly in some sense. Connor, you should already kind of have that, right?
Technically, because nobility would give that to me. I don't know.
Mhm.
I mean, they're technically two different gifts. Having like, you could be a member of the Dawn's Inquisitors, or you could be an insider with them, but one isn't the other.
That's fair. This one might okay, so maybe I should rethink this one a little bit. It is sort of interesting because right now there is different political factions we're dealing with
Well, you could
within the
give
Avoirdupois.
everybody else that gift and give me something else appropriate. It doesn't have to be the same for everybody. One, you can always look at what the characters did to gain the gift.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you're giving them an insider, you probably should give me an insider or something similar. Maybe because I'm defending our merchants, I get an insider with them, or I get haggling, something minor.
Yeah. I do like. I don't know if you got an opportunity to use haggling, but I do like sort of insider with the merchants
Well,
of
the Smith's Guild, I guess, is what I'm defending.
the smithing guild. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let's say that. So for everybody, it's insider with the Lever family, and with for Connor, it is more specifically the smithing guild within his territory.
I just call
And
that the Fairmer's Smith's Guild.
yeah, excellent. Okay, and we're gonna have to come up with another goal for you guys, but we'll see to that next session, I think.
Okay.
And I know you have another game to get to. So I think that's it, unless I'm missing anything or anyone wants to add anything at the end here.
I guess just for a matter of record, I'll say it out loud. I've sold back that gift. I had 5 XP in the bank. I am now a giant. I am stronger.
You are stronger.
It's all
Okay.
that good. It's all that shrimp.
Yes, I do
That's
like
super
cinnamon toast
clean.
crunch.
All right.
Bulking up.
Well, thanks everyone for being here. Thanks for running, and we'll catch you all next time.
It's been a pleasure, guys. Talk to you later.